Baby's telling me I'm holding on, that it's gotta be true. I'm holding on to these red, white, and blues. Walking up and down them streets, yeah, I've been hustling, baby. Yeah, I've been hustling, baby. Every dollar goes to these beats. Yeah, I've been hustling, baby. I've been hustling, baby. I've been hustling, baby. I'm stuck in red. You ain't gotta tell me. I'm stuck in red. Ain't got nothing to prove. I'm stuck in red. You gotta get back to black soon. Get back to black soon. I gotta get back to black soon. Get back to black soon. I gotta get back to black soon. Get back to black soon. Gotta get back to black soon.
It's now time for Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. It began as a podcast, went live on the net, and transformed into a full-blown empire. Across the web, on Fight Now TV, and on radio stations around the world. It's the only daily boxing talk radio show on the planet, hosted by the only guy with the balls to do it. Many have stepped into the ring. Many have tried to take the belt. And one by one, they've fallen. Another victim of the undisputed heavyweight champion of boxing talk radio. Talkin' Boxing with Billy C is on now.
My style is impetuous, my defense is impregnable, and I'm just ferocious. I want your heart.
I'm just ferocious. I want your heart. I want to eat your children. We're coming to you live from the Billy C studio in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Calogero, and it's time for Talking Boxing with Billy C. Good morning, good day, good evening. Whenever you listen, hope you're doing all right. Don't forget the show's being brought to you in part by Cat's Nationwide Luxury Transportation Service. If you're looking for a limo and you're someplace in the United States, well, then you need to give my girl Cat a call, 202-351-7496. Don't forget, Cat's Nationwide Luxury Transportation Service is performing the limousine duties for this year's Billy C. Boxing Hall of Fame induction weekend gathering, which is November 16th, 17th, and 18th, right in Glens Falls, South Glens Falls. Sorry for all the South Glens Falls people out there, especially everyone listening on WMML. Glad they got the new tower set up, and now the whole world can hear. So we're happy about that. But give Kat a call, 202-351-7496. She does a great job. Just remember one thing. She's my girl. I know you're going to be making a move on her, but she's my girl. 202-351-7496. The show is also being brought to you in part by Campanaro Tomkovich. If you need a lawyer for whatever, maybe you bought some real estate, maybe you have some matrimonial issues, maybe you just have some paperwork that has to be filed, like that new will to leave everything to me. You need to know how to spell my name, all that stuff. You need to call Campanaro Tomkovich, and I'll make it. I got a deal for you. You give him a call, tell him Billy C sent you, and tell him that I said I'm going to pick up the consultation fee. 845-221-4099. That's 845-221-4099. Campanaro Tomkovich, they keep me out of trouble. They'll keep you out of trouble. 845-221-4099. And, of course, my buddies down at the Halftime Bar and Grill, Route 9, South Glens Falls. Hey, man, if you're in the South Glens Falls, Lake George, Queensbury areas, and you haven't checked out the Halftime, what are you waiting for, man? It's been completely renovated. They're opening up the outdoor section of the facility, which is really cool, man. You got to go check it out. It's right on Route 9 at South Glens Falls. Big screen TVs everywhere, so you can watch your favorite sporting event or anything else that you can get them to put on the TV. Great people are always hanging out there. Drink specials all the time. And speaking about hanging out there, check out Friday Night Fights at the Halftime Bar and Grill with me. That's right. I'm going to show up there. Yeah, okay. I might get a little toasted. People buying me my favorite drink. It doesn't take long before I'm drinking water after that. But stop by. All you got to do is talk boxing during the Friday Night Fights on ESPN with me, and I'll give you prizes. I usually come with a trunk full of stuff, and people walk out of there with things. So enjoy yourself. Halftime Bar and Grill. Food is fantastic. Take it from a fat bastard. The food is good. Give them a call, 518-792-4869, if you want to make a reservation or just swing by. Hey, by the way, there's always entertainment going on there on Friday and Saturday nights, so make sure you swing by. Halftime Bar and Grill, 792-4869. Busy show coming up today. We got the Blast from the Past, which is featuring Carl Bobo Olsen, and Alex Papali is going to be joining us with that. Also, the infamous Joe Santoliquito. That's right, Joe Santoliquito, scheduled to join us. Now, he missed it last week, his time. He missed his time. His window opened and closed. But that's because he was covering the NCAA tournament. I wonder where he's going to be today. I wonder if he forgot that it's still going to be going on. So hopefully we'll get him on the line. If not, we move along. Speaking about getting people on the line, I want to remind everybody we added a new person to our to the Billy C family. Tony Treem is a boxing historian. He's a writer, memorabilia collector. Got a huge collection of stuff. And this is a guy that's going to be joining us. He's going to be doing the heavyweight spotlight, and it's going to be beginning in a couple of weeks. So I want you to stay tuned for that. I know we do the heavyweight spotlight now, but we're going to add a little flavor to it and get Tony to work. We're getting him to work, but we're going to get him to tell us about guys that he's going to pick. I've given him one limitation. I said stay in the heavyweight division. That's it. You're going to be doing our heavyweight spotlight feature. We used to do it on a weekly basis. We're going to let Tony run with it. He's going to start off doing it once a month, maybe twice a month, whatever, and we'll see where it goes from there. I'm real excited about it, so stay tuned for him. We're going to be doing that. And we're also going to be taking that spotlight, and we're going to be putting it up on the website so you can get these different sections. Like when we have our specialty sections, like the one that we're going to be doing today with my man Alex, we're going to be breaking those down. Eventually, they're going to be broken into not only audio segments, but also audio and video segments. So we're excited about some of the changes coming along with the show. We got some additions to the show coming up. I'll keep giving that to you as they start getting scheduled to come on the show. And you may notice some departures of other people, which, hey, it's going to happen. We're starting to grow rapidly, and we're actually putting a lot more burden on our contributors. So sometimes people don't have the time. Hey, if that's the way it is. That's the way it is. We'll move on. The show's been around 8 years. It's going to continue to go on. I can't wait to make some announcements that we got cooking. But anyway, hey, first and foremost, we got a very there's a lot of votes coming in on the on our poll question this week. We're going to extend it because I'm trying to give the Floyd Mayweather fans. Yep. You heard it from me, and you guys know how I feel about this guy, but you heard it from me. I'm trying to give them a chance because the numbers of the votes are actually coming in at a rapid pace. But the problem is no one's voting for Floyd. What am I talking about? Well, we have a poll question, and it seems that Floyd Mayweather Jr. and Manny Pacquiao, either one of them or both of them, always seem to get on this show every day. And I don't mean physically. I mean in our discussions. Now, some of our regular listeners or longtime listeners, they're a little sick of it. And some of our new listeners, because we read all the emails, which I'm going to do in a couple seconds here, a lot of them are getting a little teed off that we're always talking about these guys and everything else. And what I've noticed is that the Manny Pacquiao fan and the Floyd Mayweather fan is actually the same fan. Not that they're the same person, but they're the same type of fan, and they both love their guy. Floyd Mayweather Jr. fans, they don't want to hear anything about any other fighter, just Floyd. And they think that Manny Pacquiao is a fraud and blah, 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 and he can't beat him and everything else. And Manny Pacquiao fans, well, they think the same stuff about Floyd. So, I give a great analogy. It's like the Boston Red Sox and the New York Yankees. They both tell each other how much their fans are awful. But the truth of the matter is they're both the same fan. They just like different teams, So I contributed the same thing going on with Pacquiao and Mayweather. And we put a poll question out there. And we said, hey, if the two great fighters, arguably, in my opinion, and most other respected people, think that Sugar Ray Robinson was the greatest fighter of all time. And, he's a guy that we kind of, put everything up to, we match against. And today, I hear often, way too often, that Floyd Mayweather not only thinks that he's made this statement that he's the greatest fighter ever. Not only does he think that, but his followers, his disciples think that. So we put up a poll question. Who is the better fighter? If these two guys got to fight, and forget about size and everything else, assuming that they're both the same size, and, they had the same, attributes that they have right now, the same skill sets and everything else, and they were able to fight, which we know is impossible, but we're all dreaming here. Who would have won? Well, 88.9%, which is up a little bit from yesterday, versus 11.1% in favor of Sugar Ray Robinson. Now, here's the thing. I want to make sure that all the Floyd Mayweather Jr. fans know, because one of their best fans, one of Floyd's best fans, I think he's the head of the fan club, my man Given Quality, who's become a part of our show. One of these days I'm going to meet him in person, and we're going to. I don't think he drinks like me, but he'll have a water and I'll have a scotch, and I can't wait to meet this guy in person. But he wanted me to make sure I pointed out to all the Mayweather fans. I don't know if he's trying to tell me that you Mayweather fans, are a couple of fries short of a Happy Meal or something, but he wants me to make sure I explain that you have to create a username and an account in order to cast your vote. There's no obligation, but you do have to create a username and an account on BillyCBoxing.com. That's where the poll question is. The reason we do that is so you can't vote twice. We don't want no cheaters. We don't want no cheaters here, so you can't do it twice. So you got to create a username and password. It'll let you come up. It'll email you a confirmation thing, blah, blah, blah. It takes about, a minute total, and then you cast your vote. So everybody, I urge the Floyd Mayweather Jr. fans to get out there and vote, because your vote will count. You want your boy to win? You want your boy to even get close? I mean, he's not even close. So, in all fairness to the Mayweather Jr. fans, and because Given Quality feels that a lot of the Floyd Mayweather Jr. fans aren't getting an opportunity to vote, I'm going to open up that window. We're going to keep it going for one more week. My intent is to have Floyd get beaten even worse. And the other intent is, of course, to have Floyd Mayweather's fans get an opportunity to vote for him. So if you're a Floyd Mayweather Jr. fan and you think he's better than Sugar Ray Robinson, if these two guys would have gotten to fight, make sure all your Floyd Mayweather cronies go cast their vote, www.BillyCBoxing.com. A couple of emails I want to get into, and then we got to take a quick break. First and foremost, Viva Vegas says, hey, what's the song at the beginning? They were talking about yesterday's song. That's Miss Money. Speaking of Floyd Mayweather, that's Miss Money. That's the artist. The song was Get It In. If you listen to the lyrics, which, I've that song's kind of grown on me. You tell me what you think the song's about. But it's got a nice beat, man. Miss Money. Now, remember, all of the music that we play prior to our intro is being sponsored by RadioSubmit.com, so you can find out more information about Miss Money on RadioSubmit.com. Make sure you drop her an email and tell her that you heard her song on Talking Boxing with Billy C show. she's a great person and really promotes. And she's Miss Money. You know, I don't know if there's any connection between Miss Money and, you know, Floyd Money Mayweather, but who knows? Who knows? Maybe Floyd, because, you know, he does dabble in the music business, so maybe. Now, today's song, just for anybody that's interested, is called Stuck in Red, and it's by Rain Dogs. Again, radiosubmit.com for information on that if you're interested. But anyway, one more thing. We're going to take a quick break from my man... Country Boy wants to say, hope all is well. You got the best show, man. Keep doing what you're doing. Thank you very much, Country Boy. I know we met, I think it was in Florida. Or was it Chicago? I forget where we met, but this guy's pretty cool, and we're looking forward to seeing him again. Hey, I got to take a break. When I come back, I'm going to finish up with the emails. Then we'll have Alex Papali join us for a little bit. He's got some thoughts and little opinions on Burt Sugar, and of course some other stuff. We'll be right back.
If you're in upstate New York and you need a trucking company, then you need Roselli Enterprises. Roselli Enterprises is trucking at its finest. They have it all: dump trucks, dump trailers, walk-in floors, flatbeds, flow boys, tankers, loaders, and a full line of roll-off containers for any job, big or small. Roselli Enterprises is also the source for all your sand, gravel, and topsoil needs. Visit them on the web at RoselliTrucking.com or call 315-433-5115. That's 315-433-5115 and tell them Billy C sent you.
Are you ready, America? Then let's get it on with Fight Now TV. It's time, fight fans. Your channel has arrived. All the fights, all the names, all the action. From world-class boxing events to mixed martial arts showdowns and other combat sports matchups, Fight Now TV delivers the hits and more. Call your television provider and tell them you want to get it on with Fight Now TV. For more details, go to fightnow.com.
We've got a great matchup tonight. Fighting out of the left corner is the #1 ranked contender.
No, he is not.
I'm sorry, but who are you?
I am the IDO computer. I am programmed to provide only fair and unbiased boxing rankings. This fighter is the number 15 ranked contender.
Fair and unbiased boxing rankings? That's a new concept.
Actually, it is not. The IDO has provided unbiased computerized rankings for many years.
Well, we've still got a great fight tonight, folks. In the left corner is the number 15 ranked contender.
The IBO, the champion of integrity. Learn more at iboboxing.com.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts. Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning.
As a young boy, all Billy C dreamed about was one day having his own catchphrase.
And we're back. And we're back.
One boy, one dream, one day, everyone will say.
And we're back. 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 And we're back.
Catchphrase coming soon to a theater near you.
And we're back. You are listening to the Talking Boxing with Billy C radio show. Check out the replay, LDL TV. And give a shout out to my man John, my new girlfriend, Michelle. It's because Dawn left me. So make sure they're on their toes. John's always arguing with me during this replay of the show. We got to get him on one day early. Get him up early in the morning so he can argue with us online, live, on radio and TV, instead of him fighting with me by himself. Come on, John. Anyway, we got some emails we're reading. Got to give a shout out to WMML, all my listeners listening on 1230, right? 1230, WMML. It's the one I remember. There's other stations. I remember some of them. I used to love I shouldn't be saying this, but we have this station in Boston, which is it's an AM station. I can never remember the call letters of that station. But they've been with us a long time, I believe. Not as long as Rochester. Rochester HTK, I think it is. They've been with us the longest. I believe that was the very first station we were on. So anyway, reminiscing here. We got some emails. My man Bobby TF18 says he's got a couple of comments. First, he says Mayweather didn't duck Mosley. Mosley took time off because of a toothache at the time, and was also he was moving up in weight, so the time frame was short. And he's saying Zoo. Is that the Zoo? ZHU? I don't know who. Oh, Costa Zoo. He means. He says, and Costa Zoo was only in Floyd's weight class for a short time because Floyd moved up. He called Costa Zoo out, but since Floyd was at the time a very high risk, low reward, the guys he called out didn't want any part of him. Interesting. I have to go by your word, Bobby, because I never heard that Floyd called anybody out except for Manny Pacquiao, and I have never heard that Floyd called someone out that didn't fight him. So I don't know, but that's an interesting thing to think about, because from what I recall, Costa Zoo's people did want a fight with Floyd. But anyway, thanks for that one. He says, also, by the way, I am a Floyd fan. He says, but Margarito is the only guy that, and this is in Bobby's opinion, that he can honestly say that I think may have ducked, that Floyd may have ducked. It's definite that he ducked Margarito at that time, because Margarito was like, if you remember when he hit the scene, like Todd Rundgren would say, he hit the scene like a shot in the dark. But this was a guy that really busted on the scene. Now, later on, it's been tainted because of the loaded gloves incident. But at that time, I mean, this guy was. We were all thinking, oh my goodness, this guy's a killer, and we could see why Floyd didn't want to fight him at that time, and we were all saying that because. Floyd was calculating his risk, and we were calling him, he's, Margarito's too big, too strong, blah, blah, blah. But in hindsight, I bet you Floyd regrets it a little bit because, I mean, as much as Margarito was tearing people up, he's still the same exact fighter as he was. Methodical, he comes at you, he wears you down. I'm convinced that Floyd could have stayed away from him and won a fight. Maybe it wouldn't have been a thriller, but he would have won the fight. But anyway, I'm glad that Bobby's given us his honesty, which goes a long way with me. He also wants to say that the fight I was talking about yesterday, which I thought I was predicting that Juan Manuel Marquez and Eric Morales would have a fight to both close out their careers at the end of this year. He says, that's a good idea. He says, although they're both old, and it would just be good to see two Mexican legends finishing their legendary careers against each other. He says, he likes the idea. And that's what it is, It would still be a good fight. Thanks for the emails, Bobby. It would still be a good fight. There's nothing wrong with having those kinds of fighters fight each other at that stage of their career. What I have a problem with is when, like what we just witnessed, you have Eric Morales, who's clearly in the twilight of his career, and he's taking on a young gun in Danny Garcia. To me, that's when it can look, one-sided. To finish up with some emails from EQX, another regular on the show, he says, Margarito is a top-ranked fighter. That's why they never fought. Same thing with Manny, and the same thing with Cotto. You see how easy it was to make the fight after Bob gets out of the picture. He's referring to Cotto. I'm wondering, EQX, when did Margarito become a top-ranked fighter? I thought after he had won the title, so I'm wondering if that was a key. I can't argue with the fact now. I mean, Bob Arum, I think the only major promoter that really works with him, and I don't even know. Maybe Don King. I know Golden Boy says they're going to work together, but for the most part, Bob Arum has been putting his own fights together with his own fighters. So you're right there. I can't argue with you. My man, Given Quality. You knew we weren't going to go through a day without an email from him. He says, you're reaching about the improvements in Pac's arsenal. Fortune, used to be Manny Pacquiao's trainer, said it himself that if Pac was at his best under him, and he respects Roach, he said Pac has an excuse after excuse after excuse for his limitations in performing well in his last 4 fights. Kirkland was exposed and was gifted by... Okay, so that's his comment on Pacquiao. He says Kirkland was exposed and was gifted a win by Texas. Once again, the Texas Commission involved in a BS outcome scenario. The ref actually said, "You got to be kidding me," when Molina's corner came in the ring. Let the count continue. Then was notified by the commission to disqualify him. You know, Quality gives a great point here. And, you know, the thing is this. You guys, everybody was blaming the referee on that. I've gotten emails, people saying, oh, they should have let it stay. They shouldn't have disqualified him. If you remember, and you go back and you look at the tape, you'll see that the referee, he sent them back to their corners, and he stopped, and he went over and consulted with the commission. And they basically told him, you know, hey, yes, that's the rule. He's DQ'd, man. And he went over and disqualified him. So, you know, I don't think we can blame the ref. I know that everybody was critical that he didn't give an interview with HBO and everything else. But so what? You know, we all saw what happened to Juanma Lopez, and I'm going to talk about that a little later in the show. We all saw what happened to Juanma Lopez when you get a mic stuck in front of you, you know, seconds after something happened. And in Juanma's case, obviously, it was a knockout. But you know, maybe the referee says something he regrets, you know. So I think he did the perfect move, in my opinion. But as far as Given Quality, you know, man, you know I love having you give me your comments, and I really do. But, you know, just as much as I did for you and some things that you brought out to make me open my eyes, I was subjective to Floyd Mayweather. And since Given Quality has given his thoughts and has given me some valid, you know, data to evaluate, I've given Floyd a little more credit. I don't like Floyd the man, but I can't deny his ring ability. I can't deny his boxing ability. And I feel that Given Quality is a little blind to it, and he refuses to open his eyes. And you know, just for you know, S and giggles, you know, just for, you know, it rhymes with it. It has an SH in front of it, you know, just for that and giggles. You know, I did a little thing this morning, you know, because I wake up at 2:30 in the morning to get ready for the show, and, you know, there's not much to do. But, you know, Floyd Mayweather against Manny Pacquiao, I mean, let's consider this. Let's look at them for the last 2 fights. You know, the big criticism is that Floyd doesn't fight anybody. Welsh Devil Rob is in the house. He wanted me to let everybody know he's in the chat room. He's got an ego, you know. But anyway, I knew he was in there because his ego comes in minutes before he can type. But Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather, let's take a look. In the last 12 fights that each of these guys had, Floyd Mayweather Jr., his last 12 fights has spanned over 9 years. Okay, 9 years, his last 12. Last 12 fights with Manny Pacquiao has spanned over 6 years. 6 years, all right? So right off the bat, the frequency factor, the favor goes in Manny's favor. If you look at the weights, Manny Pacquiao in his last 12 fights over 6 years, his weight ranged from 129 pounds at the lowest weight. Actually, it was 128 pounds and 3/4 he weighed against Jorge Solis. You know, that was his lowest weight, and his heaviest weight was 145 and a half, I believe. So, you know, it's roughly 16 pounds difference that he's gained over those last 6 years. Now, Floyd Mayweather, in his last 12 fights over 9 years, he's weighed between 135 as his lowest, and his heaviest was 150. So about 15 pounds difference over 9 years. So really the size is kind of the same, although Manny started out smaller. You know, I think the size is pretty similar. One other thing, and then we're going to take a quick break, is that, you know, of the last 12 fights, when you go through them, Let's take a look. Floyd Mayweather's last 12 fights were against Philip Nadal, DeMarcus Chop Corley, Henry Brussels, Arturo Gatti, Sean Bay Mitchell, Zab Judah, Carlos Manuel Baldemir, Oscar De La Hoya, Ricky Hatton, Juan Manuel Marquez, Sugar Shane Mosley, and Victor Ortiz. The last 12 fights for Manny Pacquiao was Eric Morales, Jorge Solis, Marco Antonio Barrero, Juan Manuel Marquez, David Diaz, Oscar De La Hoya, Ricky Hatton, Miguel Cotto, Joshua Clottey, Antonio Margarito, Sugar Shane Mosley, and another one against Juan Manuel Marquez. Just hearing the names off the top of your head, who's had a tougher go at it? I'm going to take a closer look at that when we come back.
Are you ready, America? Then let's get it on with Fight Now TV. It's time, fight fans. Your channel has arrived. All the fights, all the names, all the action. From world-class boxing events to mixed martial arts showdowns and other combat sports matchups, Fight Now TV delivers the hits and more. Call your television provider and tell them you want to get it on with Fight Now TV. For more details, go to fightnow.com.
Broadcasting in all corners of the globe, on the web and radio.
He would scoff at a stretch of that man, I would
think. You're listening to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. from upstate New York in the good old US of A.
Boxing is here to stay because we are here to stay.
The best 2 hours of boxing talk on the airwaves.
Hey, fight fans, check out KOFantasyBoxing.com. KO Fantasy Boxing is boxing's only trademarked fantasy game. Check it out, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Select your own gym, your own fighters, track them through a season that can last from 3 months to a year, depending upon which league you join. You got to check this out, man, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Join it today. Again, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. And tell him Billy C sent ya.
Now back to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C, the only radio host man enough to take a punch from Mike Tyson.
Wait a minute, man. Hold on there. Jeremy, man, I need you to take this one, all right?
Wait, what? No way. I can't do this.
Need I remind you I'm Billy C, damn it? Now put on that mustache and get in there.
Hey, look at me. I'm Billy C. Crap.
The undisputed heavyweight champion of Boxing Talk Radio. It's Talkin' Boxing with Billy C.
Test 1 2. Test 1 2. My fellow Americans, good evening. Welcome back to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. It's great to be here discussing the sweet science with everybody. I love boxing. I love talking boxing. It's what I do.
Bill.
Wait, what?
Bill.
Why are you interrupting me? What?
Wrong.
What's
wrong,
the problem?
Billy C.
I did not have...
We're going to have to ask
wrong
you.
Speech. What do you mean wrong, Billy C? What's going on here? Fine, I'll go. I just wanted to talk some boxing on TPSradio.net. That's all I wanted to do. I don't need your damn show. I'll get my own talking wrestling with the other Billy C. Yeah, that sounds good. I've always been a Hulkamaniac anyway.
Broadcasting live, brother. Welcome back to Talking Boxing with Billy C on the mighty TPSradio.net, brother. What you gonna do, brother?
And we're back. You are listening to the Talking Boxing with Billy C, a radio show. You're watching us on the Fight Now television channel. I want to welcome all the Fight Now viewers just joining us like they do every day, Monday through Friday, from 6 to 7:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Get them caught up on what's going on. Well, we're in the middle of the mailbags. We're going to get ready to talk with Alex Papali in a little bit. And right now, in lieu of the constant bickering back and forth between the Manny Pacquiao fans and the Floyd Mayweather Jr. fans, I'm just bringing out some facts. Everybody's got all their facts and all this stuff. And I'm looking at some facts right here. One thing I want to make a note, it's funny. We got a Manny Pacquiao fan in the chat room right now, at least we know one thing. Manny Pacquiao fans get up early. The Floyd Mayweather Jr. fans, after spending a whole night out at the club and all, they're just going to bed. They're catching the replay. So, one of these days, stay up a little later, man. Have an extra drink or whatever and come on into the chat room. But we're talking about the last 12 fights. I read them off real quick. Of the last 12, when you look at Mayweather's 12, which one more time, Philip Nadeau, DeMarcus Chop Chop Corey, Henry Brussels, Arturo Gatti, Sharmba Mitchell, Zab Judah, Carlos Baldemir, Oscar De La Hoya, Ricky Hatton, Juan Manuel Marquez, Shane Mosley, and Victor Ortiz. I see 5 that I call good opponents, and those 5 basically was Zab Judah, and you got to give Zab Judah credit because a lot of people thought he was ahead in that fight, and some people think he even won the fight. But that was a good fight for Zab, and it was a good test for Floyd. And considering that Zab has kind of been resurrected a little bit, I think that fight even has more juice to it. But also keep one thing in mind: that was 6 years ago, and in the last 12 fights that we're talking about, Manny Pacquiao has had all 12 within 6. So Floyd Mayweather had fought a couple of other fights, several other fights, to round out his last 12 in those previous 3 years, which was probably the busiest span of his career. So I think that Zab Judah was a good opponent. Oscar De La Hoya was a good opponent. Ricky Hatton was a good opponent. Juan Manuel Marquez was good. And Victor Ortiz was good. As far as Sugar Shane Mosley, when he fought Mosley in 2010, Mosley was already old. All right? When he fought Carlos Baldemir, despite giving quality, trying to tell me that he was a world champion for 10 years and how great he was and all of the justification that he gave us, the bottom line is this: he's a slug. All right? He was a slug. I'm not taking anything away from his accomplishments, but to fight Floyd Mayweather, he was a slug. So I don't consider him a good opponent. As far as Arturo Gatti and Henry Brussels and DeMarcus Chop Chop Corley and Philip Nadeau, they were all extremely smaller, like Arturo Gatti, already done as far as their career, or old. So those fights, but really, when you look at the level of opposition that Floyd has faced since the Baldemir fight, and with the exception of Shane Mosley, have all been pretty good. Now, when I look at Manny Pacquiao's last 12, which were Eric Morales, Jorge Solis, Marco Antonio Barrero, Juan Manuel Marquez, David Diaz, Oscar De La Hoya, Ricky Hatton, Miguel Cotto, Joshua Clottey, Antonio Margarito, Shane Mosley, and Juan Manuel Marquez, I see 11 good fighters. 11, and actually that's 10 because one of them, is getting counted as twice. And I see one old fighter in Shane Mosley. Let's face it. When he fought Eric Morales at 129 pounds, Eric Morales was good. Now, Eric Morales was also the last loss he had, which goes back to 2005. But Jorge Solis was an undefeated fighter when he fought him. Marco Antonio Barrera, do I have to say more about him? David Diaz was a former lightweight champ. As a matter of fact, I thought David Diaz was going to beat Manny Pacquiao when they fought. I remember picking him, and I thought that he was too big for Manny, and we all saw what he did there. So, I thought he was a very good opponent. Oscar De La Hoya was a good opponent. I don't care what happened that we all saw at the weigh-in and that he looked drained and all of that. We got to give credit what credit's due. He was a good opponent going into the fight. End of story. Ricky Hatton, same thing. Miguel Cotto, come on. He had one loss, and that was at the hands of Margarito with the cement in his gloves. So that he fought him. Joshua Clottey. For all the people that think that Joshua Clottey was not good and all this stuff, why didn't Floyd fight Joshua Clottey? Joshua Clottey is one of the most underrated fighters out there. He's just a machine, and I tell you, that was the fight that as far as Manny Pacquiao is concerned, that was the fight that I said to myself, it's over. Clottey's going to catch this guy, and he's going to knock him into the third row. And it didn't happen. Antonio Margarito, we know what happened in that one. Shane Mosley, like I said, was an old fighter. And his last fight, Juan Manuel Marquez, you could say it was a robbery. You could say what you want, but we're looking at the quality of the opposition here. And in my opinion, Manny Pacquiao gets the nod for overall quality of opposition. Now, one other thing came up about Manny Pacquiao is Freddie Roach. Now, I believe Freddie Roach came on board after the Eric Morales loss in 2005. I think that he came on board after that loss because he was definitely in the corner for the first rematch, and then of course, well, I know he was in the corner for the third round knockout that took place in Vegas. Now I'm wondering if he was with them that early, but so to respond to some of the comments made that Freddie Roach really wasn't helping Manny Pacquiao. I think Manny Pacquiao has become a way better fighter in the last 6 years than people are giving him credit for. Now, as far as Floyd goes, I still don't think we've seen the best Floyd, and that's only because Floyd, to me, is just now starting to really show us how good he is. And I respect Floyd for his Victor Ortiz fight, and I definitely respect Floyd for the Miguel Cotto fight that's coming up in May. So, I think we may still see the best from Floyd. And we were talking about Eric Morales possibly fighting Juan Manuel Marquez to say goodbye to both of them. How about Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao finally getting together and fighting as their last fight of both their careers? That would be interesting. My man Bazooka. All right, Bazooka hasn't given us an email in a little bit. He says, Billy, I tend to agree to a point about James Kirkland. However, did you hear that he had a bad camp? I heard some things to that effect. It makes me wonder what exactly is going on with him at the moment. I agree he looks too muscular. The guy looked like he was stuck in quicksand all night. As a matter of fact, Bazooka, I found out some inside stuff yesterday. So this is hot off the presses. I talked to someone, let's just say, very close to James Kirkland in the camp, okay? All I'm going to say is this. I'm not going to put any words in anyone's mouth, and I didn't want to say he or she to give anything away. But very close, probably the closest person to James Kirkland, told us yesterday that not only did he have a bad camp, Team Oscar De La Hoya, his promoter, gave him some upfront money to train with. And the words that were used was all James did was went wild with the money. So whatever that means. But he did look flat-footed, and it was reported to us anyway yesterday that he had the worst camp ever. And you picked that one up, Bazooka. Good call there. And also, Bazooka wants to add, I can't wait until Floyd retires. His groupie fans make me want to vomit. I don't know if I can disagree with that, but the Pacquiao fans are just as bad, But anyway, my man Bajorn, is it Bajorn? I'm probably ruining this poor guy's name, but he says, I don't like seeing the fights at catchweights. I feel boxers should be able to win titles. I feel boxers shouldn't be able to win titles at catchweights. To me, you truly have to be the best fighter in the weight class to win a title. I agree with him, man. I don't like the catchweights. The one thing I actually had responded to Bajorn before, I'm reading it now, and my opinion is this: what do you call in a catchweight? And I gave him an example. Is if you're fighting for a welterweight title. And the two sides put a limit on that fight as 145 pounds. Are you considering that a catchweight? In other words, if you're fighting for a world welterweight title, and in the contract it says that you can't weigh more than 145 pounds, is that a catchweight in your opinion? In my opinion, it's not. In my opinion, there's a weight stipulation that says that, you can't weigh more than 45, even though the welterweight limit is 47. Anything from 140 to 147 is technically a welterweight. So to me, I wouldn't call that a catchweight. However, if you did it, another thing, like if you had an example I gave him, a junior welterweight fight with a weight limit of 143, that becomes a welterweight fight to me. So a catchweight, if somebody says, all right, we're going to have a junior welterweight title on the line here, but the weight limit is 143. To me, that's not a catchweight. To me, that's a welterweight fight. So, that is a catchweight that I don't approve. So, I need your definition of a catch weight. I think most people say, hey, if you're going to fight for a welterweight title, the weight limit is 147. End of story. If you're going to fight for a junior welterweight title, the weight limit is 140. End of story. You get to weigh anywhere. Each commission has their own little rules. Most are a 5-pound swing. So if you walk into a fight at 135 pounds and it's a junior welterweight contest, and you are fighting a guy that weighs 140, so what? So what? That's a legal fight, and it should be let on. As long as you're not limiting the junior welterweight where he can only weigh 138 pounds, what's wrong with that? Years ago they used to say, hey, you can challenge any weight class above your own. You could go in, and we saw it all the time with heavyweights. You see a guy going in as a heavyweight that's 180 pounds, 170 pounds, and he's fighting as a heavyweight. They wouldn't let those fights happen today. So anyway, speaking of fights, we got Alex Papali going to be calling in here in a couple minutes. But last night from Japan, we actually had some movement. I just put the new Billy C rankings up from our panel, our illustrious panel. We have our own rankings, and I like them, man. I think they're pretty solid. I don't agree with all of them, especially our pound-for-pound rankings. I think Manny should be number one. As a matter of fact, I think Manny should be in the number one in the welterweight division at least until both of them fight again. But I'll tell you one thing that's going to change right now is because we have the guy who beat the guy rule. Yota Saito won last night in Japan. He improved to 24 wins, 2 losses, and a draw when he fought a guy that was actually in the spot we're going to move him to, and he was the defending champ, Surion Sor Rungvisai, which I just made this poor Japanese guy sound like he was Italian. But nonetheless, Rungvisai, he was having some pasta the other night. He drops to 20 wins, 5 losses, and a draw, and we're going to have them flip-flop spots. So I wanted to give you that little tidbit. And speaking of tidbits, joining us right now is my main man, Alex Papali. What's up, brother? Did I ruin it? Did
Good
I mess
morning, Billy C.
Did I ruin
It's
it?
the tidbit.
Did I? Oh, you like that? Did I murder this poor guy's name? I made him sound. I made this Japanese kid sound like he was an Italian.
Yeah, yeah. That does sound like a hard name.
Oh my God! I can't even. Hey, Alex, we just lost you already. We lost Alex, so he's got to call us back. I can't even. I can't even begin to say it. I couldn't spell it. I couldn't even spell it. So. Surion, Suriyan, and then he's got the SOR name, whatever that is, and then Rungvisai, Rungvisai. So you try and say that one, Alex Papali. We got you back, man. So sorry about that. You are back, right?
I'm here.
Oh,
yeah.
Good.
I had like a weird echo in there. I had a feeling it wasn't going to last.
Oh, you mean before, because it sounds very good now.
Cool.
Yeah. Anyway, just to close this stuff out, and I know we got a lot of Mayweather talk and stuff, but I want to say a good thing about Mayweather. And yesterday, I think Dave Murphy mentioned it to us. Mayweather gets all the press all the time for doing negative things, but he did a really good thing recently. He just gave $50,000 to a family that needed their young boy, 11 months old, and I know you can relate to this, Alex. 11 months old, needed a rare operation on his heart, and the parents just didn't have the money. They had already exhausted all their funds for prior operations on this baby, and Floyd Mayweather foot the bill, brother. And that's the kind of stuff that Floyd needs to get out there more, so we can get to know this guy on a personal. He didn't have to do that. He didn't know this family from Adam, and I think he deserves recognition for that.
Yeah, that's definitely a nice thing to do. No question about it.
Yeah, he's got his money. We've all seen him burning $100 bills on the dance floor with all the hotties around him. It's good to read that he gives up some of his hard-earned cash for a good cause.
That's right. Definitely.
Hey, I know you got some thoughts about who I think is an icon in the sport of boxing. The late great Bert Sugar, we both have had the experience of meeting him several times. I thought he was a great guy. A lot of people got sick of his one-liners. But what's your thoughts on Bert Sugar?
He will be sorely missed. He really, for myself, when I got into this sport around 1985, he was one of the writers that I, took a shine to right away. He was the editor of Boxing Illustrated, a magazine that, was around for a little while, and it was a great read. And it was a shame it didn't last. For anybody who goes to Canastota, I'm sure when they heard this news, they couldn't help but wonder what it's going to be like this year, because not only we already lost the Petronelli brothers, we lost Angelo Dundee, and now to lose Bert Sugar. I mean, anyone who ever goes to Canastota, the thing that was amazing about Bert Sugar was, it's a long, couple of days there. You're out there in the sun, and there is some downtime, and it never failed. If they could just pass the mic to Bert Sugar, he would electrify that crowd. He was a character. He was a modern-day example of why, he's the modern-day proof that writers do deserve inclusion in the IBHOF, at least in my opinion. I mean, he was, his fedora, the typewriter, and the cigar, they're all enshrined in the Hall of Fame, and they already were even before he was inducted. It was like he almost was larger than life. I mean, in terms of, he had the good heart and the determination of like a Billy Conn, and he was flashy and colorful as Battling Siki. And to think that, this is a guy who was just as much a character as the guys who are throwing and taking the punches. And in terms of writing, this.
We just lost you, Alex. Could you please give us a shout back? Alex was giving some accolades to Bert Sugar. He was saying, some great stuff, and he'll be calling us back here in a second. But one of the other things is that I feel, just to dance a little bit here, why Alex gets back on the line, is that Bert Sugar was a character for the sport of boxing. He was also somebody that you could identify with. You kind of saw him there, and he wasn't just a writer. He was a character. He was somebody that you associated the sport of boxing with. And I agree with Alex. He's gonna be missed. I'm sorry, man. You got cut off just when you were saying about him as a writer.
Yeah, that's the thing that really, anyone who writes about the sport, and anyone who, and we know that your listeners do appreciate the history, and like reading about the history. I'm sure most of them have already, encountered at least one of his books. I use Boxing Greatest Fighters every single week. It's a canon for the sport. He was a yardstick by which today's writers should be measured against. And, this was a guy who could make allusions to Sophoclean drama or, Shakespeare in his articles, and yet you could still sit with him and have a beer and joke, with like Dean Martin and Don Rickles and Bob Hope type jokes, the jokes that you hear a lot, but they will always make you smile. It's not like it's better to it's better to be a good liver than to have one. How many times have you heard that? And it still cracks me up. That was one of those lines that he always used to use, and he certainly was a good liver.
He was also a great storyteller, and that's what I think separated him from. I don't want to make it sound like it's easy to be a writer, but what separated him from the other writers, because not only was he, what I was saying when we were getting you back on the line, is he was a character for the sport of boxing. People,
absolutely.
People recognize him. They may not even know exactly what his role is, but they know who he was. And I just thought that what separated him, aside from his character, was the fact that he was a great storyteller. And ESPN actually used to do a segment on him not too long ago where he would come and tell you about a story similar to the way we present things. And, I loved watching it. I don't know really if there was another guy like Bert Sugar or who's going to be the guy to replace him afterwards, because I don't know if there was another storyteller that's told it like him.
Yeah, they're dropping fast. And I mean, he would always talk. One of the things that I used to love hearing him talk about was, and he seemed to love to talk about this fight, was Dempsey Firpo. That was just a tempest in a teapot of a fight, where both guys, drop each other, and there's the famous photo where Firpo knocked Dempsey out of the ring, and the way Sugar would tell it, it was like you were there. He really. That's the thing about him, is that when people, might get the idea, writers are boring, they're studious, they just like to sit in a room with their books, and maybe they don't, mesh well with the common folk. That wasn't the case with Bert Sugar. No. Bert Sugar, he could sit there and bang down the scotches with you, and then, quote Shakespeare at the same time. That's what was really wonderful about him, and he really will be missed.
Yeah, there's no question, and a lot of people don't realize it, but he was no dummy. Not only was he an accomplished writer, he was also a lawyer and everything else.
Yeah, I didn't realize this, but I guess he was an advertising guy early in his career, and he's the one who created the slogan, Nestles, Nestle's makes the very best.
Chocolate.
That was him.
You forgot the end, chocolate, the very best, and then you have to go chocolate. That was the part they left out. He didn't coin that one. But hey, we're going to go to a break in a minute or two. But before we do, and we come back with the blast from the past, what's your thoughts on the fight that everybody's talking about? And that one really is the Kirkland fight with the disqualification. Seemingly, there was no way in hell that James Kirkland was going to win that fight, and he gets disqualified. Molino gets disqualified. We all know why. Technically, the bell sounded, but the fight hadn't ended. His corner entered the ring, blah, blah, blah. What's your thoughts real quick?
I think that it was really unfortunate because, in a sense, they did rob Molina of what looked to be a victory. Now, it's very possible that Kirkland was going to turn that fight around.
When? It was the last round. It was the last round.
No, it was a 12-rounder because he was the champion, and that was the 10th.
What title would they have? Like an intercontinental title or something on the line or something? Was that the deal?
I think Kirkland has some title. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, but it's not a world title.
He does have something. I think that the thing that really bothered me, not so much that it was a rule that shouldn't be enforced. I mean, that's a good rule. But I think that the fact was that it didn't make sense that, there was so many other things that he could have been officiating about. I mean, the fight had been a very rough, grappling fight. Now, granted, a lot of that I didn't think was too much of a problem, but at some point you would think that he would have given Molina some kind of warning about a lot of the rough stuff. At the same time, Kirkland had no answer for it. It really was to me, I couldn't help but thinking there was a lot of things going on at the same time, as usual in this sport. That's what makes it so rich. I couldn't help but think of Mike Tyson, an early Mike Tyson, who was kind of, we didn't get to see him tested when he was at his best. The thing about Kirkland was he was being tested in a similar way to Tyson, in that he had a guy who was trying to survive and was using a clutching, grabbing style and some well-timed shots to try to blunt the aggression, and it was working. Now, Kirkland, like Mike Tyson, couldn't come up with a way to break out of those clinches and to maybe, get his offense started. But it looked like he finally did in that 10th round, and that was unfortunate because it's very possible he was going to score an 11th round KO. Because it did seem that a lot of the steam went out of Molina in that last round. But even the knockdown itself, I thought, was more of a brush down, but that showed you how much Molina was wilting. So again, the big final thing I think everyone should worry about in terms of Texas, and Al Bernstein tweeted this soon after the fight, that if he's a fight manager, he would not bring his fighter to Texas, because these things that keep happening, even when it just looks like it's incompetence or just a comedy of errors, they break in the favor of the promoter's fighter. This is the whether it was Friday night with the real tiny ring in Texas, or the Chavez-Rubio fight where, mystifyingly, everyone was forgotten to ask. No one provided a urine sample, and who did that favor? The fighter that seemed to gain 20 pounds overnight.
Right.
So, I mean, when you have all these things that happen, and then that's the same thing on Saturday night, it seemed that they rescued the fighter that was in trouble, who was sure to be losing the fight. But again, it's hard to say that was the goal of Shorely. I don't think it was. As one of your listeners mentioned, you do hear him say, I can't effing believe this. And it could be that he was saying that because he saw the cornerman come into the ring. And evidently he had warned them before the fight in the pre-fight instructions, in case of a knockdown, do not enter the ring. And it did seem like Kirkland's corner got that message.
Oh, they were sitting. I really noticed that because when they showed the replay, there was, I don't know who he was, but not Ann Wolfe, but the next guy in charge had everybody stay in their seats. Not only were they not making a move towards the ring, they were sitting down. And I made a statement yesterday that was a clear indication of knowing what was going on in the fight, where Molina's camp let him down. And
yeah, they sure did. They did.
It's a shame that all of that happened. It really is. But I will tell you this. We did find out some inside stuff. James Kirkland had an awful camp, and I was critical of Ann Wolfe for not giving him more instruction. And from what I understand, she was clearly trying to save his energy for that last quarter of the fight, because they were afraid that he was not going to be able to last wind-wise because he had such a poor camp. So a little FYI there. Maybe that explains why he seemed so un-James Kirkland-like in the first half of that fight.
Well, yeah, and what I think was why I also brought up Mike Tyson was that, you remember the Pinklin-Thomas fight when Tyson fought Pinklin-Thomas? That was a fight where it was like Kevin Rooney was trying to get Mike to use the jab, and Mike, it was working, and then it wasn't working, and Mike kept getting clinched, and then pretty soon Pinklin-Thomas had won a couple rounds in a row. And then Tyson went back to his corner, and Rooney said, Mike, bad intentions, Mike, bad intentions. And Tyson was like, oh, thank God, you're going to stop asking me for those jabs. Right. And he went out there and knocked him out. Right. And it was almost like that kind of thing was happening. And I would have liked it. That's what was unfortunate, because even though I thought Molina was way ahead and was doing well, it's certainly possible we were going to see an 11th round knockout.
Yeah, possibly. But, hey, listen, let's take a break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about our blast from the past. So I know you're excited about that one. It was a guy that we decided on the fly last week, right?
That's right.
All right, we'll be back.
Bobo.
Bobo Olsen will be, not to be confused with Bilbo Baggins, but he's Bobo Olsen. We'll talk about him in about 2.
Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. now has official merchandise available on TalkinBoxing.com. T-shirts, sweatshirts, hoodies, and mugs. And yes, even undergarments. Talkin' Boxing apparel is the perfect gift for the boxing fan in your life. Log on to www.talkinboxing.com. That's TalkinBoxing.com and place your order today.
Join us here for 2 hours as Billy and the gang do what they do best.
Every time I start talking about boxing, a white man got to pull Rocky Marciano's ass. Rocky Marciano. Lewis. Fucking bad Joe Lewis. Rockin' my town.
Hit Joe Lewis's ass.
Joe Lewis was 75 years old when he fought.
Huh?
What?
We're supposed to be talking boxing.
It's Talking Boxing with Billy C.
As Billy C sits here in the multi-million-dollar Talkin' Boxing Studios, sipping a fine wine before you're even out of bed, you should be thinking, damn, I wish I had a mustache like his. It's the Talkin' Boxing with Billy C show. He's Billy C, and you're not. Sucks to be you.
Now let's dig into our archives and hear a rare interview when Billy C first became the champion of boxing talk radio. Hello, Billy C. As the new champ, can we ask you a few questions?
Why, certainly.
Okay, your fans would like to know how you and your corner have successfully walloped the competition.
We're not ordinary people. We're morons.
Anything else?
I'm a victim of circumstance.
Did your success finally come when you made the show 5 days a week for 2 hours? What do you think?
I'm trying to think, but nothing happens.
Now, please tell the listeners what you've learned from making it this far.
Certainly. If at first you don't succeed, keep on sucking till you do succeed.
Great words of wisdom, Billy C. Keep up the great work as the undisputed People's Champion with your show, Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. Any last words to anyone who's listening?
This is your fault, you bonehead.
And we're back. You're listening to the Talking Boxing with Billy C, a radio show. You're watching us on the Fight Now television channel. If you don't have Fight Now on your sports channel lineup, you got to pick up the phone, call your television provider right now, and tell them you want Fight Now. Now's the time to make the move. Call your TV provider and tell them that you want Fight Now. Add it to your sports channel lineup. It's that simple. We even got somebody in the chat room right now from the Philippines who's calling his cable company to try and get Fight Now on his television set. So all the information on the channel can be found at their website, www.fightnow.com. One other thing before we get into Alex's favorite segment is I made a reference to my man Alex about Bilbo Baggins, and my man, the most knowledgeable guy, the guy that's always giving us the information, the guy that knows it all, is my man Dave Murphy, and he says, "Who the hell is Bilbo Baggins?" Are you telling me that you guys don't know who Bilbo Baggins is? Come on, man. Lord of the Rings, you never heard? Bilbo Baggins was the man. Well, actually, he was the guy who got the ring originally in The Hobbit. He was the Hobbit. He was the uncle of Frodo. So little history there. But speaking of history,
Blast from the past. We shine the spotlight again on fighters from years past.
Top-ranking. Joe Lewis is the leading contender.
Joe Frazier with a left hook. Good right hand thrown by Foreman that time. Look at that left hook. Belt that goes to Ray Mancini.
It's Blast from the Past on Talkin' Boxing.
And this week's Blast from the Past, which is sponsored by the International Boxing Organization, where their computerized ranking system is second to none. Check out their ranking system by visiting their website, www.iboboxing.com. Features former world champion Carl Bobo Olsen. And to tell us about Carl Bobo Olsen, not to be confused with Bilbo Baggins, is my man Alex Papal. Can you believe that Murph doesn't know who Bilbo Baggins is?
That is surprising, yeah. Especially after those, they had the 3 great movies just recently.
Well, I guess I'm going to give credit to people that maybe they saw the Lord of the Rings, and Bilbo was only in it in the first one in the beginning, because when he was kind of passing the ring on to his nephew.
Yeah, that's true.
Bilbo made the whole storyline famous in The Hobbit, so I guess you have to be really into that trilogy to know.
Yeah, I think that one's coming out in a year or two, maybe sooner, but they are doing a Hobbit movie.
Well, they tried doing one once before, and it was just such a cheesy. It was a animated one, like they did the Lord of the Rings. Before they came out with the newer one, they did have an animated version that was really cool too. I liked it.
Yeah, they were cool. They were kind of musical, but they were the animation was very cool.
Yeah, but when they came out with the Hobbit animated movie, it was terrible. I mean, it looked like
really?
It looked like Teddy Atlas. You know, the way he does the scorecards every week on on Friday Night Fights. I think they gave him like they should give him a coloring book and a crayon. Is how they did the Hobbit movie. But anyway, we got to stop doing this. Isn't Siskel and Ebert, man? We got to do our blast from the past. Carl Bobo Olsen, tell us about this guy, man.
Yeah, Carl Bobo Olsen. He was born July 11th, 1928, and he was a son of a Swedish father and a Portuguese mother. He was born in Honolulu, Hawaii. His dad, his name was Elmer Olsen, and he had been stationed there at a military base. And as a kid, Carl wanted to be a jockey. He liked horses, I guess, but he tried boxing when some of his friends were doing it. He also liked golf, and he loved swimming, but he never competed in swimming. But this really got me. I guess in Hawaii you can do this kind of thing. He liked to swim out to sea about a mile or so, and then swim back to the beach in Waikiki. Must be beautiful, but I don't know. That's a long swim.
Yeah, I'd be dead. I'd be fish food long before that, man. As soon as I can't stand anymore, I'd start drowning, I think. I do the rock swim, you know? I do the rock swim.
Rocky the Fish.
Yeah.
But, he turned pro when he was actually underage. He was only 16. And this was, I had a little trouble trying to confirm how many bouts it actually was. One paper said he rattled off 6 straight wins before they caught him. But then another said it was only 2. And then I saw that it might have been that he could fight in Hawaii at the age he was, but he couldn't fight here in the mainland because we're talking about a time when Hawaii was not yet part of the United States when he first turned pro. But anyway, so I'm not actually sure if those fights where he was underage are even counted on his record. I'm not sure if you know about that either, but because there's not much of a gap between the first 3 fights and then the rest of his career.
You know, some sources indicate those fights as being part of his record, and some don't. So whenever there's a discrepancy like that, I kind of lean towards the Hall of Fame's record count. But who knows? Who knows?
Right.
I mean, a lot of these guys. Back in the day, started their professional careers at a very young age, and many times they fought under different names. So I don't think we'll ever really know the truth about some fighters and the beginnings of their careers. I mean, it's just something that we've hopefully improved over time with the record keeping.
Yeah, definitely.
His rise, was actually. I mean, when you consider it. His rise was actually quicker than most because his first world title shot really came by when you look at it in compared to other fighters came earlier than a lot during that time. I mean, his first technical world title shot was against Sugar Ray Robinson in 1950, where he had really only been fighting for a little less than 6 years. And that was the Philadelphia World Middleweight title, which had a recognized title at the time.
Yeah, this was a period where there had been some. I'm not sure if it had been this early, but as we get later, in some of the other Ray Robinson bouts, because he fought him 4 times, there was confusion as to who the champion was. There was like the champion of New York as well, and we've talked about this in some of the other blasts. But yeah, at that time, Sugar Ray was the Pennsylvania champion, and that was recognized as the middleweight champion of the world. And you're right. I mean, to kind of to the luck of the draw, the guy when you're ready for a title shot is the best fighter that ever put on a pair of gloves. I mean, that was sort of unfortunate for poor Bobo Olsen. But he had a good showing against Ray Robinson, and he got knocked out in the 12th round. He was a sturdy volume puncher, not really a power puncher. He had good defensive skills, and when he fought Ray Robinson, that was the first of their series. Oh, and it actually came, one of his first bouts was with a guy named Dave Sands in Australia, and that guy was the Australian middleweight champ. So he seemed to be, that year in 1950 was where he earned the credit to get the shot at Ray Robinson.
Ray Robinson was one of the fighters that he just didn't beat ever, right? I mean,
no, he never beat him.
Yeah, that was talk about a nemesis. But when here we do, here we go. We always say the same things, but this guy fought everybody. And when you start looking at the names, aside from Sugar Ray Robinson, Lloyd Marshall, Randy Turpin, he fought Kid Gavilan, Rocky Castellani, Ralph Tiger Jones. I mean, on and on. And that was all in his heyday. Even in the end of his career, when he never got a title shot again, he fought guys like Don Fulmer and Jose Torres when Torres was coming out. Pete Rademacher, which was a highly regarded fighter. Doug Jones, a guy that eventually fought at heavyweight. And Patty Young, and then of course Joey Maxim a couple of times. I mean, who didn't he fight?
Well, you know who his dream fight was, and I was pretty surprised by this. And Doug Jones was probably the closest he got in that direction, because he did fight him at heavyweight. His dream was to fight Rocky Marciano.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, he did suffer from
Archie Moore upended that dream.
Yeah, Archie Moore. I forgot to mention him.
Yeah, Archie Moore. The way he had the series with Sugar Ray Robinson. Oh, and one thing I did want to mention about the second bout with Ray Robinson, that was they seem to, each one seemed to be generated by rematch clauses. That's why they seem to keep fighting each other. But the second fight with Ray Robinson, Sugar Ray, his purse was $1. He said it was the hardest dollar he ever earned, because the bout was actually the whole card was a benefit for the Damon Runyon Cancer Fund. So Bobo Olson did get a paycheck, but Sugar Ray Robinson only got $1. And in that fight, Bobo did do a lot better, but he didn't think it was going to be, Bobo thought he didn't deserve a unanimous decision loss. He thought maybe it was going to be a split, but, unfortunately that was the case. And then he did make a move. While he was middleweight champion, he defeated, he beat Randy Turpin for the middleweight title eventually, and this was after last week, when we did Randy Turpin. Turpin only held the middleweight title for 64 days before he gave it back to Ray Robinson in a rematch.
But this
and
title,
that
title was vacated, though. That was after Robinson retired.
Right. That's what. Yeah. And so Turpin became like one of the top contenders again, and they had like an elimination, and that's how Bobo Olson became the champion.
Yeah, and when he fought Archie Moore, he actually was getting a shot at the world light heavyweight title, so he had moved up.
Yeah.
But he kept his middleweight title, and he had some great title defenses, including a great fight, which was very close against Kid Gavilan in 1954. When he finally lost that title, who did he lose it to? The guy who comes out of retirement. I mean, that had to be the next morning. Bobo Olson had to wake up and go, "Damn that Sugar Ray Robinson! Why can't I beat this guy?" I mean, he fought him. I mean, if anybody got to know this guy's style, it had to be Bobo Olson. And sure enough, and another thing about Bobo Olson that maybe people don't realize is that he happened to have been on television an awful lot in the 50s. He was one of the most popular TV guys of that era that was always on those fight nights, Gillette Fight Night and some of the other sponsored fights. I mean, there was fights almost every night during that era on TV. And Carl Bobo Olson became very popular with the TV viewers because they got to see him so often.
Yeah, a lot of the articles that I saw, there would be TV information, and there'd be like a little blurb at the bottom that would say, facts about the fight, and almost always you would see that they were blacked out in the city that was holding them. to try to get people to show up live, but then everywhere else it would say like Central Broadcasting System or whatever channel it was going to be on. So yeah, he definitely became very popular, and he also had a fast pace. He threw a lot of punches. He wasn't a huge power puncher, but he was an action fighter. So again, that lent itself to good TV fights. And yeah, that fight with Kid Gavilan, from what I've read, that fight was absolutely furious. And I'm not sure, I can't remember if that one is on YouTube or not. I think maybe clips of it. But some of the Rocky Castellani fight is on there, and the knockout loss. Because, and that's another sign of why Sugar Ray Robinson is so unbelievable, is that as he kept fighting Bobo Olson, he kept getting better. I mean, he ended up knocking him out in 2 rounds, and then, then I guess, he did knock him out in 4 rounds.
Right,
so
right.
Bobo did last a little longer in their 4th fight.
And that was his last shot at a world title. When he got the rematch, when Sugar Ray Robinson beat him and took his title back, when Sugar Ray came out of retirement and took his title back basically for beating Olson, they gave Bobo another shot at the title, and like you just mentioned, he knocked him out in 4. He never got another world title shot, and he fought for 10 more years. And it wasn't like he became a punching bag for 10 more years. I mean, he was competitive, fighting, like we mentioned, some name guys. The one fight that kind of stuck out for me, actually 2 fights, was, of course, his last fight where he fought a very tough fight against Don Fulmer, and then a couple of fights prior to that against Jose Torres, who was actually absolutely destroying people and kind of destroyed Bobo Olson in 1.
Yeah, he did. He did get knocked out in 1 against Jose Torres. And that Don Fulmer fight, because didn't we just lose him? He passed away this year too, I think.
Yes, he did. And as a matter of fact, the third of the 3 brothers, Jay Fulmer, is scheduled to come on the show and talk about Don and of course Gene. And Gene is still with us. I had to be straightened out by our very own Austin Colleen. I for some reason thought that Gene Fulmer had passed as well, but he's doing fine. I guess he's battling Alzheimer's, which, as a matter of fact, Carl Bobo Olson kind of battled that in the later part of his life. Do you have any? Come on, this is your favorite part. I mean, come on, tell us about the demise. What happened to this poor guy?
Yeah, it's Alzheimer's, of course, is a form of dementia, so it's hard not to think that it was somehow related to boxing. But yeah, that's what he, and I guess he eventually did die from that. But he did have a career after boxing. I mean, he did he worked for he did public relations for the Teamsters. He lived in San Francisco, and I think that some of this was like an engineers union. He did work with them, and actually towards the end of his career, he was, sadly we see this too often. He was, hard up for money. He was being pursued by the IRS. And he also had 9 children from 2 different women, 5 with one and 4 with another. So one of them was after him for alimony, and he actually had a kind of rough split with his first manager, Sid Flaherty. So he sort of needed money, and perhaps that was one of the reasons why he did fight so long while his but like you said, I mean, it wasn't like he was, just a palooka getting trounced in every bout. He still, would still have flashes of the old Carl Bobo Olson. I mean, one of the things that I thought was kind of sad was the poor guy, before he was even 30, he had what a lot of guys suffer from, Billy C., and that's male pattern baldness. But the papers were brutal. They'd call him Balding Bobo and Battling the Bald Brawler, and what was the other one? Balding Bobo and Balding Battler and the Balding Belter. So, they had a lot of fun with his hairline.
Yeah. I love hearing you say, "Oh, another one of the depressing things." You start cracking up. I got some bad news to tell you. It's humorous.
Considering, I don't know, Alzheimer's and male pattern baldness, I take the baldness.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Doing a show with you one time, I got to watch a camera shot of our two heads, and I'm saying to myself, "Oh my God, man! No, not you. I'm saying me, man. I was saying, oh man, my hair's starting to get thin, and you were bragging about your new haircut, and I said, you better take a look at this picture. I think we're both starting to thin out there, and you can see right where it's going to eventually be bald. The hair is starting to fall. That's why I started keeping my hair short, to hide the grays and maybe the balding spots. But anyway, Carl Bobo Olson, one thing I mentioned about this guy, about the television, you would think a fighter that had so many, so much time on the tube would have made more money in his post-fight career, and I have to think of a guy during the same era in Rocky Graziano, who eventually made more money being a spokesperson for Meineke Muffler, I think it was, and many other products and services because of his popularity on television, and it didn't go the same route for Bobo.
Yeah, there was. I did see one interview with him that did. He had some regrets towards the end. He said that at the time, I think it was right around the Doug Jones fight, that he was saying how he had made about $1.5 million in his career, but it was mostly gone. And there was one. I mean, now he had 9 kids, so that's going to burn through your money pretty quick. And at one point, I guess he gifted a house to the woman that he ended up leaving the first wife for. And then the first wife, tried to sue him to get the house back. So you got to figure, with all these lawsuits going on, even $1.5 million might not be around too long.
No, and unless he's like my father with kids, doesn't give him a penny. My rule number 1: don't give your kids a nickel. But anyway, good job on Carl Bobo Olson. He's a Boxing Hall of Famer. Was inducted in 2000. Former world middleweight champion, also challenged for the world light heavyweight title. Did he challenge? He didn't challenge for any other belts, right?
No, he never. He really wanted to move up to heavyweight, but Doug Jones, and there had been a couple of other. When he got knocked out by Pat McMurtry, that was a heavyweight fight, and then he knocked out Don Grant, and that was a heavyweight fight. So he did move up into the heavyweight division, but he never scored a big noteworthy win over like a top contender. Doug Jones, he had been doing pretty well in that fight, but then his chin wasn't quite as good as the rest of his abilities, unfortunately. He had good defense, but for some of those bigger, I mean, when you look at his record, the guys that knocked him out were big hitters.
Well, since he had 9 kids, obviously his chin wasn't as in working order as his, jam. I don't know. But anyway, former world middleweight champ, former world light heavyweight title challenger, International Boxing Hall of Famer, inducted in 2000. 97 wins as a pro, 47 coming by knockout, 16 losses, only stopped 7 times of those 16 losses, 2 draws. He passed away at just before he was 74 years old. 870 rounds as a pro. Carl Bobo Olson, our blast from the past this weekend. Great job, Alex, and we look forward to you next time, my man.
Thanks a lot, Billy. See me too.
All right, hey, try taking better care of your hair. All right, you don't want to end up like Bobo.
I'm gonna rub some Rogaine into it right now.
There you go. All right, brother. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, take care.
That's my man Alex Papali, and both of us. We gotta protect the hair. Protect the hair. My hair. Hey, I gotta give you a shout out, man. We got our chat room is always filled with some great people, great boxing fans, and one of the problems that we have with our show is that when we air it live, it's early in the morning because of some obligations that we have with a lot of our radio stations that get the show. They play it throughout the day at different times, so we're kind of forced to at this point. Stay tuned, maybe some things will change, but we are kind of forced to do the show early. And what we find is we get, we got these stragglers from the UK coming in here all the time because they got nothing else to do. We also find that we get people that are willing to get up early, like my man Dave Murphy, who's here in the States, in central U.S., which is actually an hour earlier. And then some people that haven't gotten to bed yet over on the West Coast. Sometimes they pop into the chat room when they're a little half in the bag. But today we got a kind of a special visitor, first-time visitor, is coming to us from the Philippines. And, well, guess who his favorite fighter is? Of course, Manny Pacquiao. But now, one thing that my man has to understand is that I'm the murderer of names, and I'm hoping I'm not going to murder his name too much. It's Makilo. Makilo. Makilo joins us, and I apologize if I I'm going to call him Mac, my man Mac, and I just want to give a shout out here from the Philippines, and hopefully he'll be back every day now because we know that he's at work. He's got his feet up on the desk, and he's enjoying life right now, listening to the Talking Boxing with Billy C radio show. So I got to take a break, and when I come back, we're scheduled to have the infamous Joe Santoliquito.
Talking Boxing with Billy C. Every week, 2 hours of the best boxing talk on the radio.
Mike Tyson looked like he put on some pounds. He was fat. He went into McDonald's and he just said to them, hey, give me 6 of everything on the menu. He put on 2 watches and covered 2 time zones. I'm talking fat here. Got on a scale the other day and it said, come on, one of you guys got to get off. Last thing I heard is that he jumped into the ocean and he left a ring around the continent. He's fat.
Boxing
with Billy C.
The 2012 Summer Olympic Games unfold in 5 months in London. The honor and the history of playing host goes back a long way. How long? That's next on Sports Shorts with me, the Sports Princess.
This Your Family Today tip is brought to you by Stouffer's, helping bring your family together with wholesome dinner options, even on the busiest of nights. Find dinner table ideas to bring your family together at letsfixdinner.com. To get kids involved in dinnertime conversation, ask specific questions, not broad ones. Instead of what happened today at school, try what was the best thing that happened today. The more specific you are, the more they'll have to say. For more tips like these, visit us at parenthood.com/yourfamilytoday.
Legend has it that the Olympics go back to Hercules, but let's leave Greek mythology out of it. The modern games opened in 1896. Since Athens couldn't afford to put them on, a businessman ponied up the coin. Pole vaulting, weightlifting, shot put, and swimming, few of the handful of events. Since those days, some of the original sports remain. Others come and go, depending on the whims of the International Olympic Committee. Australia, France, Germany, and China have hosted summer games, and this will be the 3rd time for London. As for the winter games, the U.S. has hosted them 4 times since they started in 1924 in France, featuring sports like alpine cross-country skiing, figure skating, and such. Between the summer and the winter games, there are hundreds of sports and thousands of athletes. You never know what city is going to get a crack at hosting next. I'm the Sports Princess with Sports Shorts.
Now back to Talking Boxing with Billy C. He may not have an Excellence in Broadcasting award, but the night's still young.
And he's got martinis.
So you never know what may be by morning. It's Talking Boxing with Billy C.
Talking Boxing with Billy C.
The one, the only, Don King.
Makes me feel good, Billy, to have you, the number 1 show in the country, Talking Boxing with Billy. So I invite each and every American that's listening to this great show to tune in. Because we want you to be there with Billy and me.
Sweet Susie Q, she was a rebel. No angel wings, more like the devil. She was so hot, so cool, nasty. Believe it or not, here's what she asked me. If you need love.
And we're back. You are listening to the Talking Boxing with Billy C radio show. You're watching us on the Fight Now television channel, and now's the time. I'm telling you, make the move now. Call your local television provider and tell them that you want the Fight Now channel added to your sports channel lineup. It's that simple. Pick up the phone, call whoever you got your TV with, and tell them I want my Fight Now channel added to my sports channel lineup. It's that simple. Check out their website, www.fightnow.com. Hey, I got to straighten something out, man. The guy straightened me out. He's all the way from the Philippines. Makilao is not, his favorite fighter is not Manny Pacquiao. It's not Manny Pacquiao. It's Juan Manuel Marquez. I wonder how loud he can say that in the Philippines. But anyway, speaking of loud, a guy that's pretty loud and vocal with his thoughts and opinions, my main man, the infamous, and I say infamous, Joe Santoliquito joins us. Tebow time in New York, man. Let's put boxing aside for a second. What do you think?
It's going to be a disaster.
You're like everybody, huh? I think there's a way it could work, but I just don't know if they're going to do it that way. But you think it's going to be a disaster, huh?
Yeah. You're putting pressure on two guys, not just one, but two guys. And from what I saw, just channel hopping, I think it was Monday. Monday had his press conference. I think it's the biggest. No, actually, I shouldn't say that because I was there for this. I was going to say it was the biggest press conference I've ever seen for a backup quarterback, but technically no. I was at the Vic thing, the Vic fiasco, where they even had actually more people for Vic than they did for Tebow. And that was a few years back. And remember, Donovan McNabb was the starting quarterback for the Eagles at the time. So, I actually like Tebow. I'm not crazy about his style, but I am a fan of the fact that he wins. And you could check out any level that he's played, he's always won.
Yep.
And that's not by happenstance. I mean, the guy is a winner. He finds a way. I go a little bit of a ways back. I remember as a kid, with pot-bellied Billy Kilmer. He just and this kid's better than Billy Kilmer. Billy Kilmer had no arm, had nothing. He found a way, and that seems to be Tim Tebow. That he just somehow, somewhat, he finds a way. And defense is new. I mean, who's kidding who here? It's the NFL. Defenses knew what he was going to do, and he still did it. So that's a credit to him. It's a credit to his fortitude, to his ability. And that wasn't exactly it wasn't exactly Joe Schmo that beat the defending AFC champion Pittsburgh Steelers in the playoffs this year. It was Tim Tebow.
Right. No, listen. Honestly, and I know that our diehards are hating this right now, but honestly, I think if they alter the offense a little bit and they have Tim Tebow on the field all the time, not just bring him in for the so-called wildcat and have Sanchez go off the field or line up as a receiver, something like that. If they have him in there all the time and they alter their formation, and the way I would do it is I would have Sanchez never take a snap again from behind the center. I would have him in a shotgun position. I would put Tebow off to his right, almost in the pistol position where he's maybe 3 steps back from the line of scrimmage, and it would give you the option to directly snap to Tebow, to snap it to Sanchez, plus give Sanchez more time to see the field because he's too small. He could still run. He could hand off to a running back that could be off to his left. I think if you set up an offensive formation like that, I think it would be virtually impossible to really defend, especially when you bring up all the points about Tebow not being anything great but getting it done.
Yeah, but it would be interesting, but you're dealing with I find it interesting. You're dealing with a backup quarterback that has more confidence, and right now going into a 2012-2013 season with a far better psyche than its starting quarterback in Sanchez. Sanchez has, in my opinion, a lot to prove. I was never. That's the twist of it, is that I was never really sold on Sanchez. I think he's mediocre at best. I think he tries to force a lot of things. He had the luxury of Damian Tomlinson in the backfield there, which is not a luxury. I believe Tomlinson's a free agent, right?
Yeah, he's gone. But I don't know, man. They needed to get a running back. But, hey, let's talk about some football. I mean, I could talk about football all day, but let's talk about some boxing. I got to get your thoughts on, first and foremost, Danny Garcia, a Philly product, fought Eric Morales. I thought, to me, I'm not surprised with the outcome. It's typical youth versus age. But what I was a little surprised with was Danny Garcia taking a little while to get the train rolling. Do you think it was because he was over-respecting Morales, or do you think that was their game plan?
I think you hit the nail on the head, Bill. I know Danny. I know Danny personally. I know Danny professionally. I was the first guy to ever write about Danny with the magazine. Danny is very filled with respect. A little bit of a slow starter. He's someone that needs a little bit of a shove to get it in the high gear. But once he got into a rhythm, once he found out what he could do with Morales, and you see that in the course of the fight, that he was going to do well. I predicted that he would win. As a matter of fact, I saw the fight going exactly the way it went. The thing I was most impressed with was, he gets the cut, and he fought through it. He fought through the adversity. It's the most pressed he's ever been in the ring. Obviously, he's in there with a legend. Granted, an aged, shop-worn legend in Morales, but he was in there with someone that pressed him beyond what any previous fighter pressed him on, and he responded. And that's the thing that I like. The thing that impressed me the most, that he fought through some adversity, and Danny's been a bit of a front runner. There hasn't been too much that he's had to fight through, and that's what impressed me about his victory. He relied early in his career on a knockout punch, but then again, that was against Schmoes. I think he knocked out 5 out of his first 6, 7 out of his first 8, something like that in his career. But again, there was a lot of guys that the competition level was nowhere near the way it is in the latter stages of his career. And he's done. I give him some credit because he's beaten some decent guys. He has Nate Campbell to his credit. And again, it's a shot-worn Nate Campbell, but still, he handled him pretty easily. He beat Kendall Holt, and again, it's a guy that has some tread, not too much tread on his tires in Holt. But these are guys that could still fight, and that's how you test someone. I think that he was brought up the right way. That and you do it, you do it through that
protection.
You do it through a measured way, a time measured way, in against veterans. And Campbell, Holt, and Morales. It's not a bad trio. To turn around and basically place himself in the position that he's in. Now, granted, he got Tim Bradley and Amir Khan and Lamont Peterson out there. Juan Manuel Marquez is out there, and I think he's a notch, just a slight notch below those guys. But he could fight with them. He could fight. I'm not saying he's going to beat him, but I'm going to say he give any of those guys a fight.
The other fight that's in discussion, of course, is the James Kirkland and Carlos Molina fight. Listen, I am like everyone else. I hated the way it ended, but I'm a rules guy, and a rule is a rule is a rule, and the corner blew it. What's your thoughts?
Oh, geez, that's a tough one, Bill. I think there's a number of things that could have been averted in that fight. I saw my concentration was more on the Garcia fight than the Kirkland fight. I felt Texas is awful. And is it John Shortle? Is it John Shortle was the referee?
Yes, he was the referee in that one.
Jesus, that whole thing was a mess. And from what I remember that fight, there's some things there that there's things there that he could have done better. He just let that fight get out of hand. And you're kind of watching this play out, and I'm thinking, Jesus, Molina's kind of holding a whole lot here. And I'm thinking, wait a second. It's more of it seemed to be more of like a wrestling match than it was a fight, than a boxing match. And that's on Shorter to take control of the fight. And I always had that sense, from what I recollect of the fight, that he didn't do that. That there was some things there that you just have a feeling as you're watching this unfold that something's going to happen. This guy's not. I mean, Kirkland was coming on, and I agree that Kirkland was coming on. On the scorecards, I believe Kirkland was down on 2 of the 3, if not 3 of the 4 scorecards. I didn't score it. I scored the Garcia fight, but just offhand, if I were to turn around and score the fight, I would have had Molina ahead at the time of the disqualification. The rules are, like you said, what the rules are. One of his cornermen did step into the ring, but I also am a firm believer that I think replay should take more of a role in boxing. If there was a way to find out and gauge, did he hear the bell? What exactly caused the cornerman to do what he did?
Well, the bell sounded. The bell sounded. See, here's the thing, and I got that argument from a listener. The bell sounded, and the rule states, and they're trying to do an official protest. Team Molina is doing official protest, and the rule states. And ironically enough, Margolis is the attorney for this, which I thought was kind of funny. But anyway, the rule states, the Texas rule states, that the timekeeper is not allowed to ring the bell if there's a knockdown. So therefore, if the bell is rung, the corners that's when the end of the round technically takes place. But in this case, which I'm going to be curious to see how they handle the wording of that rule. In this case, you had already heard the 10-second, and it was around the last second of the round. So I know how timekeepers work, Joe, and so do you. They're sitting there watching the clock, and they're ready to hit the bell. They're not even seeing what's going on in the ring. We're down to the last 3 seconds, and they're just simultaneously hitting the bell as the count started. So I think in this particular case, it would be tough to say, well, there's the bell, because you clearly hear it. You clearly hear the bell ring. So, I mean, that definitely happened. But he didn't start to enter the ring until many seconds after that. As a matter of fact, his fighter was being counted right in front of their corner. So, I mean, I don't know, man. I hated the way it ended, but a rule is a rule. And the referee, I thought, took too much blame for this because he actually went over and conferred with the commission, and they're the ones that said, no, you got to DQ him. The only thing I thought that the referee did wrong was that he sent both fighters to their own corners when I thought, and I'm not a referee and I don't know the referee rules. But
this is where the confusion lies, and I saw that part of it, and you're wondering what exactly was going on. And the corner had to wonder what was going on. Everybody wondered what was going on. Bill, did you actually thought up until that time Shuro did a good job? Because I think, from again, I saw parts of the fight. I didn't see the whole thing. But I thought he did a horrible job.
No, I agree.
From what I saw, I thought he let the fight get out of control.
Yes, I agree with the roughhouse tactics and the holding and the headbutting and all of that stuff. Yes, in that respect of losing control, I can't argue with that. And I'm more for one that likes referees to let them fight out of clinches and stuff like that. I want more of that. I would rather see a little extra holding and force the fighters, because now fighters know with specific referees, hey, they're not going to let us fight up close. So what they do is they clinch and then they get broken apart. And I hate that.
The other thing too is I have no respect whatsoever for the Texas Athletic Commission. I mean, is it run by Lawrence Cole,
Well, it's run by his dad.
Texas. Lawrence Cole's going to find his way in the ring.
That's because of his
Mr.
dad.
Insurance man.
Yeah,
Mr.
exactly.
Exactly. I think he's an absolute joke.
Well, he is. His father,
and I think the Texas Athletic Commission's pretty much right up in there.
Well, Dick,
with Lawrence Cole and his daddy or whoever.
Right, Dick Cole. Dick Cole is the commissioner.
There you go.
He's the commissioner. You got
and
Lawrence
typical
Cole.
Boxing. And I hate to say it, that's why people outside the sport look at the sport the way they do, because you have clowns like this. It's like clown college, Clownsville. You have stuff like this, that this junk that goes on, and well, again, maybe I'm spoiled here in Pennsylvania. We have a legitimate athletic commissioner in Greg Serb, who puts his foot down, dots his I's, crosses his T's. There's no shenanigans that go on. Texas it's a joke.
Well,
And how much respect overall in the sport do you think Lawrence Cole and his daddy have?
Not
overall from people that know the game.
Not outside of Texas.
None.
Not outside of Texas. And outside of Texas, they have no respect. The only thing I wanted to finish on, then I'm going to ask you a Philly question here in a second. But the only thing I wanted to finish, I agree with you about the referee in the Molina-Kirkland fight. The only thing I thought that he did wrong during that whole incident was that I think under the rule, because he was basically asking a question to the commission, was that both fighters should have been sent in neutral corners, not to their own corner, because that might have given an illusion that the round was over as well. But
that's exactly it. And you know something? And that's an interesting point, Bill, that we both know will be brought up during the protest trial. Hearing. I'm sure what Molina's people have obviously protested the result.
Yeah, well, they're protesting.
So during the appeal, that is something, and that is a very, very strong argument. That again, Shorter was losing control of the fight. No, I'm sorry. Shorter had lost control of the fight by that time, and that is a very, very confusing thing what he did, sending both to their respective corners. And you're thinking, because if you look at it too, Kirkland, who scored the knockout, he also was confused. He didn't know what was going on either.
Yeah, but his corner knew what was going on. And from what I heard of some post-fight interviews, they also had some meetings, and they distinctly covered that. They said if there's a fighter that's a knockdown, you cannot enter the ring until the judge, until the official gets his thing. But anyway, we're running out of time. Zab Judah looked fantastic against Vernon Paris the other night, Saturday night. But the fight I wanted to ask you about, actually, and no, it wasn't about Tomas Adamek. It was about Brian Jennings, who, in my opinion, is breathing some life in the heavyweight division. No, he's not ready to be ranked, and yes, he only beat Lukajevich and everything else. But he shows me some shocking similarities to the style in which Michael Spinks made successful as a heavyweight, the way he darts in, nails a few punches, gets out of harm's way. What's your quick thoughts?
I like him. I think he's athletic. He certainly has helped himself right now and placed himself in a little bit of a decent position. There is the heavyweight division's a mess. You have, especially in this country, you're looking at Tony Thompson. Seth Mitchell is interesting. I like to see what he's able to do, but Brian Jennings I saw firsthand with the NBC show. Was it back in January, February? Liked what I saw that night, and he was pressed. It was two fighters that had an interesting past, and he's done very well for himself. He's fairly young. He's 26, 27 years old, and he's probably going to be fighting again. He did, like I said, he did exceptionally well. It was Maurice Byram that he fought
Freight Train,
back in
Freight Train, February, right?
Back in it was January. It was the NBC show. I remember now because I was right there at ringside watching him watching this fight unfold. He's not again, he's not very large. I think he's 6'2", 6'3". Does have to rely on his boxing ability, but he's coming on. He's coming on. He does have some talent, some ability. He has a good work ethic, from what I understand, and he's someone that, like you said, I think he's someone that does bear watching.
Yeah, no, I just think that, honestly, he's too small. He's, he's going to be a guy that's not going to, get to Klitschko or anything like that. But, you take the name Klitschko out of the mix, and, I see him fight smart. I see him getting a little better. I'm seeing him learning how to deliver his punches better in this last fight against Lukajevich than he did against the Freight Train.
And Bill, he's doing it in front of an audience. He's doing it, and kudos to NBC again for what they're putting on right now. You're getting quality fights. You're getting. I worded it in a story that I did, like boxing after dark quality type fights. NBC's putting some cash out, and also what they're doing and what they're trying to do is build. I think that's the most important thing. Back in the day with ESPN's, and I'll never forget, Mike Tyson's famous quote, it wasn't one of those ESPN fights. But Mike Tyson was built on those, back in the day, back on those ESPN fights. He was a frequent guest. He was a frequent. He had frequent appearances on ESPN's Friday Night Fights, and that's where he was built. And we're watching kind of the same thing in Bryant Jennings and how he's being built here. This is the second show. It's the second appearance that he had. He looked good against Maurice Bynum, and now he's looked good back-to-back in turning around and stopping Lyakovich in the 9th round. So that's the most important thing, that he's doing it, and he's doing it impressively, but most importantly, he's doing it and building a fan base while doing it, building a TV fan base.
Yep, and that's key. That's key, and I'm looking forward
in this day and age, because those opportunities aren't there.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to seeing him more. But anyway, Joe, it's that time again. We got to run, and I appreciate it. Great football discussion, and of course, we had some good things to talk about in boxing. We'll
and don't forget. I mean, as the spring is arriving, and I've said it again last year, and some people in Philly scoffed at me. Don't put all your eggs in the Phillies basket, even though you're stuck. You are a Mets man, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm done. Forget it. My season. My season.
See, you're
Joe,
already on the edge of the bridge.
Joe, my season. Think of it. My baseball and football season for 2012 is already over. Because the Jets are going to do nothing. They're gonna be fighting amongst themselves. The Mets.
On top of that, you have your nemesis, the Giants.
I know. I got to deal with them. I got the Yankees too.
Just as good.
I got the Yankees
you
too.
You have the Yankees, who are going to be tremendous, and the pitiful, horrible Mets. Really, very quickly here. I'm a huge Family Guy fan, and there was
Me too.
They had a little bit
I
of
love the Family Guy.
They have those cutaways, and one of the cutaways featured Stewie at a Mets game. First out of the season, long fly ball to left, it's caught, and the season's over.
Yeah, yeah.
First out of and the season's over.
I gotta see that. I gotta see that.
But the Philly fan down here takes great relish in the fact that the Mets will be twisting in the wind. But I'm going to tell you this: don't put all the eggs in the Philly basket, because it is a crumbling dynasty, and even though they won one World Series, you got the impression, talking to Phillies people and talking to people around Philadelphia, it's as if they've won 4 or 5 straight.
Oh, I know. Hey, watch out for the Marlins. They're the team to watch out for. But Joe,
I would also put the Atlanta Braves in there too.
Yeah, you can never count them out, right?
It's a young team that's
20 years.
It's a year older, and if they get some help, who knows?
Joe, we'll talk some boxing next week, my man.
Very good. Okay, Bill.
All right, take care. That's
Bye-bye.
the infamous Joe Santaliquido. And yes, we were talking about some other things other than boxing. But I wish I saw that one he's telling me about with Family Guy. I happen to love Family Guy. It's and it's over. If you're a Mets fan, I guess you could appreciate that. If not, you're like Murphy. And like David Allen and like everybody else in the chat room, they're like, who gives a crap about baseball?
Wake up. It's time for the...
It's too early for a trivia question.
All right, here's that time. That's one of my favorite parts of the show. And remember, this is available to anyone. The trivia question, don't think that just because we're doing it live that somebody else has got the answer, because the questions we try to make are pretty tough. So whether you're watching the show live, whether you're watching a replay, whether you're listening to it on your iPad, even if you're watching or listening a day behind, I would always email the correct answer. Now, today's trivia question prize, if you get this one right, is from the private library of Dave Murphy. It's one of his all-time favorite books. It's called Blood in My Coffee, The Life of Dr. Freddie Pacheco, the Fight Doctor. This is being brought to us by courtesy of prizefightingbooks.com, and it's going to be given to you if you know this answer. Prior to George Foreman's comeback after a 10-year retirement, only he and one other former world heavyweight champion had fought in one fight that went 12 rounds. Who's the other guy? Prior to George Foreman's comeback after a 10-year retirement, only he and one other former world heavyweight champion had fought in one fight that went 12 rounds. Who was the other guy? If you know that answer, email me, Billy at TalkinBoxing. Let me spell it for you. TalkinBoxing.com. If you have the correct answer. You got to be in it to win that book. And by the way, I don't even know if Murphy ever read that book, but I did, and it's a good one. And it's worth the read. So Billy at TalkinBoxing, TalkinBoxing.com if you know the answer.
This day in boxing history.
And today's This Day in Boxing History is being brought to us by Campanaro and Tomkovich. If you need a lawyer, use the ones that kept me out of trouble. That's Campanaro and Tomkovich. Give them a call, 845-221-4099, and tell them Billy C said that I'm going to pick up the consultation fee. Give Campanaro and Tomkovich a call right now, 845-221-4099. On this day, March 28th in 1984, Murray Sutherland wins a 15-round decision over Ernie Singletary to win the very first world super middleweight title, and that was just created by the IBF. So that took place on this day, March 28th in 1984. Little FYI, the WBA's title was first won in 1987, and the WBC followed suit in 1988. So that's what took place on this day, March 28th in 1984. Hey, man, that concludes our show for today. There's one thing I got to tell you. You know what it is. Make sure you tune in tomorrow morning, same bat time, same bat channel, the Fight Now channel. Call your local television provider right now and tell them you want the Fight Now channel added to your sports channel lineup. You can get all the information about Fight Now by visiting their website, www.fightnow.com. See you all tomorrow. Ciao, baby.